Welcome into STB Sports Take, simply the best sports podcast. I'm your host, Sean Bingham. Thank you for joining us. We are on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, everywhere you get your podcasts. We are there. Coming live from Bocas del Toro, Panama, here in the villa in my room, trying to get the best lighting possible. It's dark outside, so this is what we've got. Not the best backdrop, but thank you for watching, subscribing, listening, all that good stuff. Follow us also on TikTok and Instagram. Got a few things to cover today. College football, the latest rankings, my NFL STB Sports Take NFL Power Rankings, Sean's Surefire 5. I went 4-1 last week, so listen up this week. Let's start immediately, though, with college football. I just have a little thing I got to say about this. No conference in college football should get more than 4 teams in the college football playoffs. Not the SEC, not the Big Ten, none of them. If you cannot finish 4th or higher in your own conference, you do not belong in a very small 12-team playoff for the national championship. I'm sorry, we did not ditch the BCS to continue to let reputation and computers and history and random committee votes determine a national champion. No conference should get more than 4 bids, none. And no power conference should get fewer than 2. So the Big 12, the ACC, they should be guaranteed 2. Who on earth would rather see the 6th place team out of the Big 10 or the SEC instead of the number 2 team from the Big 12 or the ACC? Nobody wants that. Let's let these outcomes, these national championships, be determined on the field, not in computers, not from committee votes, not from history and reputation, on the field. No conference gets more than 4. No power conference gets fewer than 2. That is the way it should be done, period. I mean, if you finish 5th or 6th or 7th in your own conference, do you really have a decent argument to be in the college football playoffs? You're not even the top 4 team in your own conference. You're looking at like a 6th place finish in the SEC, and you're going to cry about not getting into the playoffs. That's ridiculous. I want no part of it. Please, committee, do the right thing. Think clearly. I think we should literally change the rules. No team gets more than 4. No power conference gets fewer than 2. So taking a look at the rankings here, BYU got trumped by Texas Tech. I said it is what it is. Tech was way better that day. I think they're better overall. I guess if there's a rematch, we'd find out. But Texas Tech made BYU's offense look like little league stuff. That's what I said in my immediate post after. Wasn't good for the Cougars. But the committee is telling the Cougars, you're still right there in the hunt. One of the first teams on the outside looking in. Number 12, but again, with all the conference affiliation stuff, BYU will likely be one of the first teams out the way it looks right now. But BYU plays TCU, Cincinnati, who's ranked 25th, and then UCF. If BYU wins all 3 of those, they'll absolutely move up 2 or 3 spots and be in a rematch in the Big 12 championship game against Texas Tech. I believe that if BYU can at least have a good, solid showing against Texas Tech in the Big 12 championship game, keep it within a touchdown, 27-20, 27-23, somewhere in that range. Look solid, be able to score, be able to move the ball more offensively, things like that. If BYU can look solid in that game, even if they lose, I believe that at 11-2, with wins over Cincinnati, Utah, ECU, your only loss coming to Texas Tech, who at that point would be a top 4 seed, in my opinion, as a Big 12 conference champion with only 1 loss, having beaten Utah and BYU twice. If that's your only team you've lost to, is Texas Tech, who would at that point be a top 4 team. I believe BYU gets in as an at-large. But the other thing the committee is showing us here is that they are ready to jump Utah ahead of BYU if BYU slips up again. Even though BYU and Utah would have the same record in the same conference and BYU would own the head-to-head, if BYU loses to TCU or to Cincinnati or to UCF, the committee is going to leapfrog Utah ahead. We'll have to see how the Big 12 tiebreaker shakes out with how everyone finishes to see who would win that, because obviously if it's just BYU and Utah, BYU would win that head-to-head and get the rematch anyway. But if there's a 3rd team with 2 losses in the Big 12, then the tiebreaker would likely go to Utah, and BYU would be left out in the cold yet again from a 3-way tiebreaker. Time now for the STB Sports Take, simply the best NFL power rankings. Coming at you at number 10, the Baltimore Ravens. I called this forever ago from a mile away. The Ravens are on a roll, winners of 3 straight. Lamar Jackson's back. They're going to win that division. I don't care that they're 4-5. They will win that division. They will get in the playoffs. They will be dangerous. Don't care if they have a losing record. The Ravens are dangerous. Number 10 in my power rankings. Probably should be higher, honestly. At number 9, I have the Colts down 1 spot from last week. They got the win, but I feel like other than Jonathan Taylor playing incredibly well, it feels like the Colts are probably trending in the wrong direction. So they still make my top 10, but I've got them down at number 9 now. At number 8, the Denver Broncos, down 2 spots. They got a win, but it was a pretty ugly win. They got a tough game against the Chiefs this weekend. Still in the top 10, got another W, but I got the Broncos at number 8. At number 7, up 2 spots from last week, the Detroit Lions, also with a big game this weekend. But the Lions avenged their loss from the playoffs last year against my Commanders, got a huge win in D.C., absolutely embarrassed the Commanders. So the Lions move up a couple of spots to number 7. At number 6, I have the Bills, down 5 spots from last week. What a roller coaster the Buffalo Bills are. One week they look like the best team in the world. The next week they look awful. This last week, they lost to the lowly Dolphins. The Dolphins? Are you kidding me? That was a gimme game for the Buffalo Bills. They clearly overlooked it, choked it away. Ugly loss for the Bills. They have to drop down. So I had them at number 1 last week, down at number 6 this week. At number 5, the New England Patriots. This is the team that actually appears to be quietly in the driver's seat for the AFC East. Come playoff time, it feels like you'd lean towards the Bills, but then you realize, actually, what have these Bills done in the playoffs? Nothing. They beat the Chiefs in the regular season, but then they always lose to them in the playoffs anyway. They haven't been to a Super Bowl, so why should we believe any more in the Bills than we do in the Patriots? As of right now, I believe more in the Patriots. So I got the Patriots at number 5. At number 4, the Kansas City Chiefs. Only 5-4, but they're coming off of a bye. I do believe they're still one of the best teams in the NFL, if not the best, but certainly a top 4 team. So I got the Chiefs at number 4. At number 3, the Seattle Seahawks, moving up 2 spots from last week. The Seahawks just keep winning. They had a big win this last week. Huge showdown divisional game against the Rams this weekend. We'll talk more about that. But the Seahawks at 7-2, they just keep climbing the power rankings right now. At number 2, the Philadelphia Eagles, up 1 spot from last week. Got a nice win against a solid Packers team in Green Bay, but 10-7, a little bit of an ugly win. So I'm not going to put them in the number 1 spot. I'm saving that for the Los Angeles Rams, who were number 2 last week and beat a solid 49ers team this week to move up to number 1. I believe that right now in the NFC, it is the Los Angeles Rams that are the best team, and I believe that Matthew Stafford is the favorite for MVP. So that is your STB Sports Take. Simply the best NFL power rankings. All right, we'll finish with this. It's Sean's Surefire 5. I went 4-1 last week, so listen up. I picked 5 games that have a ton of national attention on them this week. Well, really 4 and then plus my Commanders. So we'll start with the Commanders. I'm taking the Commanders plus 2.5 against the Dolphins. They play the Dolphins in Spain. Both these teams are having a bad year. I believe overall the Commanders are the better team. They will cover that 2.5. I actually think the Commanders will win this game, but I'm certainly going to take them plus 2.5 against the Dolphins in Spain. The second game I'm taking is the Bills minus 5.5 against the Bucks. 2 very solid teams. I believe, though, that the Bills are the better team, and furthermore, the Bucks are traveling from warm Florida up to freezing cold Buffalo. I just think the Bills have a great bounce back game after clearly overlooking the Dolphins last week. I'm taking the Bills minus 5.5. Huge playoff seeding implications. Rams and Seahawks. I'm taking the Rams minus 2.5 at home against the Seahawks. This is the type of game that I think Matthew Stafford will greatly outshine Sam Darnold. Both teams are rolling. This should be an epic showdown, but I like the Rams in this one at home, minus 2.5. The fourth game I'm taking is the Chiefs. Huge divisional game at the Broncos on the road. Coming off of a bye week, I'm taking the Chiefs minus 3.5. Again, this is the type of clutch game that I would expect a team like the Chiefs to rise to the occasion, get this very critical divisional win. So the Chiefs, I think, will certainly win, and I like them covering the 3.5 as well. The last one, this one's a tough one. NFC showdown. Lions and Eagles, 2 of the best teams in the NFC, to go with those Seahawks and Rams. So 2 fantastic showdowns for NFC playoff positioning. The Eagles are favored by 1.5 right now at home over the Lions. I very hesitantly am going to take the Eagles. Both these teams look amazing. I just like the Eagles a little bit more at home, so I'll take the Eagles minus 1.5. And that is Sean's Surefire 5. All right, you guys, that's all the time I have for today. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for listening. STB Sports Take on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, X, all the good stuff. I am out. Peace.